Well, welcome back to the Good Medicine Podcast, where we explore what makes medicine not just effective, but what makes it good. I'm your host, Dr. David Beers, and I am very honored today to have one of my favorite people in the whole world as our visitor today, Dr. Mary Beckerle. I could probably spend the next 10 minutes talking about Mary's background and all the things that she's done. But Mary is the CEO of the Huntsman Cancer Institute and a distinguished scientist and cell biologist, a member of the National Academy of Science. And for almost 2 decades, pretty much 2 decades, that Mary's been the leader of the Huntsman Cancer Institute and has really expanded the mission and vision to help us understand cancer at the deepest levels and to translate discoveries made in the laboratories in the Huntsman Cancer Institute to help discover new, better treatments and outcomes for patients. And I know what really drives her and what drives me, we share the same passion and the same vision in our lives, is we want to see this disease. We want to see people have better outcomes and have people actually be cured of this disease. So today we're going to talk about the power of scientific discovery, how we make scientific discoveries, how we translate that, how Mary is an expert at being a leader in science as well. And sometimes it's like herding cats, keeping scientists, trying to keep them focused on one thing, because part of our training and background is we like to go where the data takes us, and sometimes it takes us in strange places. So having somebody that can lead scientists is not an easy thing, and it's something Mary's become a real expert at. We're going to talk a little bit about Mary's background and really what I want to spend the most time talking about is the future and what comes next. After doing so much, Mary's actually just announced that she's stepping down as the CEO after 20 years, essentially being the leader of the Huntsman Cancer Institute. And she's not going anywhere. She and I are going to talk about what we're working on together and a vision of how we can continue to try to create new treatments and better outcomes for patients. So Mary, I'm so happy to have you here. I know this has been something I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Me too, Dave. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Absolutely. Well, Mary, I think that to start off, I think it's always good to ask, for me, it begins and ends with science, what we do. We're trying to discover new ways to treat people and to help people with these serious life-threatening diseases. And with all the things that you've done in your life, I know you feel the same way as me, that I'm a scientist. That's how when I look in the mirror, I still picture myself with the white coat on and being in the lab. But how did you get interested in science? Where did it all start for you? And how did you become a scientist?
Oh, that's a great question, and I love to hear other people's answers on this question. I think I've always been a curious person, and I've always been interested in a lot of things. I think I really got hooked on science because I had some amazing teachers, like really early on. And I was trying to think like how early on, maybe like really seminally in high school, where, I took an AP biology class. And one of the things we did in that class is really talk about some of the big questions. But the thing that really hooked me was learning about how the scientists figured out how to address those questions. And, it actually, still today, I remember a study that we were talking about in that biology class, and it was about plant biology. And you know how plants have stems with xylem and phloem that bring the water and the nutrients up and down. They were trying to figure out which was up and which was down. And they did these experiments where they cut the stem and like put a piece of plastic in between, basically, really something very simple. But it was like a eureka moment for me. Like, you could have such a fundamental question about a fundamental thing about plant biology, and somebody figured out a way to experimentally test a hypothesis, which was up and which was down. And, I was like, wow, that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so I just stayed interested. And when I went to college, I maintained a lot of really broad interests. I was actually a double major in biology and psychology. but kept on, that focus of like the magic of biology, how beautiful it is, how absolutely amazing it is, from the cell to the organism to the ecosystem. It's so incredible.
Yeah.
And the idea that, you could look at, a biological question and really, use all your creative thinking to figure out a way to tackle it was just inspiring to me.
Yeah.
So that's what got me going. It got me hooked from day one.
And I can relate to that completely. I think that it's something that just grabs onto you. The idea that you can actually figure out how all this stuff works, right?
Yeah,
it's just amazing. And like you said, I had the same experience, as a young person, to think about how did these guys figure this stuff out? Like how do we know that? And then figuring out that I actually could do that. That's kind of kind of exciting, right? So
really exciting.
Yeah.
And then I think also, when I got into the lab, there's something very aesthetically pleasing about a beautiful experiment, And so that was also, it kind of catered to whatever artistic side I have, which has been unsublimated in other domains for sure. But it is just like really a beautiful experiment with a beautiful figure that really tells a story in a compelling way. That I love too.
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's, I think you probably are the same. I really found the lab was where I just feel at home. Even today I walk into the lab and it's like, I like the smell. I like the aesthetic. I like everything about
like all
it.
those bottles on the shelf.
I mean, it's just, but it's just the idea that this is where we can make discoveries and where we can connect those, answer those questions and connect those dots. And I mean, it's just it's amazing. So I can't even imagine what else I would want to do other than being a scientist, and that's why I try to hang on to that side of my life. That's still who I am.
Yeah.
So you had an amazing, distinguished scientific career, professor for many years in biology. Cell biology specifically is kind of your focus. How did you get interested in cancer? How did that connection happen?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question too. So I ultimately focused on cell biology, and because I was really interested in the sort of fundamental processes that enable cells to work. Mm-hmm. And I started out really interested in the cytoskeleton, is sort of the muscles and bones of the cell, and turns out that the things that I was working on were really relevant for cell adhesion and cell migration. And of course, those are topics that are critically important in cancer. Of course, metastasis is really what is the most devastating challenge in cancer. That's what kills patients. Yep. And it is really migration of cells out of control. And so I started getting really interested in, like, what is it that, tells a cell that it should stay in a position, and be surrounded by its other cells and one, not divide, and or divide when it needs to. And then how does it know that it should stay put rather than migrate out? Because obviously there are parts of biology that require migration,
That's right,
nervous system development, the immune response, et cetera. So wound healing, so I was really curious about, that switch from normally controlled cell adhesion and migration to what goes awry in a cancer cell. Yeah. And that connection is what got me excited about cancer. And then truly, you start to realize the impact that science can have on people and on disease. And, cancer is such a compelling clinical challenge, second leading cause of death worldwide. Yep. And in spite of the incredible advances that research has brought to reducing mortality due to cancer, we still lose more than one person every minute of every day in the United States to cancer. So I was born in a decade when I think people really felt like it was important to do something that really made a difference. I shouldn't say that in other decades that people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was like part of my, like calling, right? That, you want to do something. In fact, when I first was interested in science, I almost felt kind of like, how can I be doing this? Because it's not proximal enough to making a difference.
Right.
It just felt like it was too much for my own fun,
Right.
But, so I was really, really like just taken by the opportunity. And I started, seeing connections. I was in the biology department at the University of Utah. I started seeing connections between my work and what was happening at the medical school. And, that was the beginning.
And it's so much fun when you start to see, hey, I love what I'm doing, but the applications of this, then you start collaborating and start, finding somebody that, hey, you study this and I study this, and if we put these two things together, and I think that's one of the real fun things about science is we focus on the individual contributions of individual scientists, but it is a team sport.
Totally.
We work with a lot of other people, and making those connections, I think, is a lot of the fun of what we do, is to say, wow, something I discovered here has an application over here, and this person over here studies this, and we could work together, and so you can see that how that naturally kind of brings you into an area, and I'm sure that's how that happened in your career with cancer, and kind of brought you there.
Well, and in part, I mean, you had a role to play too, right? I mean, I had gotten to Huntsman Cancer Institute primarily as a basic scientist, understanding kind of fundamentals of cell motility. And, I remember when you came to Huntsman Cancer Institute and Sunil Sharma came to Huntsman Cancer Institute, and it catalyzed a greater focus on how we can make these connections between the unmet medical need and the potential of science, and really, changing the paradigm for how we care for cancer patients in a science-based way.
Yeah.
So really, you and many other people at HCI kind of showed us the pathway.
Well, that's
so thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's the exciting thing about where I've ended up in my career is the idea of working with people like yourself that have spent their whole lives studying a process or a pathway, and then say, hey, we can turn that into something that can actually help real people. And it's not an abstract thing that we write in our publications, our grants, to say this could help people, but it's a real thing that we can actually turn. And that's what, obviously where I ended up and what motivates me every day. So on the path and the journey of your career, so as an individual scientist, we have a lot of freedom, and you have your own lab, and you find funding, and a lot of it's on your shoulders to kind of do what you want to do. How did you end up being on the leadership side? How did that happen for you? So how did you end up going from being this great scientist? Because a lot of times the skill sets are not transferable. Like what makes a really good individual contributor scientist not necessarily the best person to kind of lead a group of people, or how did you find that, and how did you figure out that was something that you would like?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I mean, I have to say, I give credit to the fact that I landed in Utah, and I landed at the University of Utah for kind of giving me space to evolve from being a bench scientist to being the CEO of Huntsman Cancer Institute. I started my career at the University of Utah in 1986. So, I'm a lifer now, and I'm a Utahn, really, right, officially, in my mind anyway.
Well, no, I think you can claim it for sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's something I really want to be able to claim. And I started in the biology department. I set up my research laboratory. I had graduate students and postdocs. I ultimately had like 3 grants, and I was teaching these, giant classes, atoms to ecosystems, to 350 kids, and also graduate students. And everything was going really, really well, right? So 12 years later, fast forward, everything's going really, really well for an extended period of time. And I start thinking, well, I'm still, really young. Am I going to be doing this exact
is this
thing?
it? Yeah.
Is this it? And as much as I loved it, here's my problem. I am not able to function with contentment.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, good.
I think that's why we get along, because we're not satisfied with anything.
I'm it's actually, it's a curse and a gift at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think that's what happened. I started everything was going really well. I had all these grants. I was winning teaching awards. I was like, is that all there is?
Yeah.
I started wanting to have more challenge. I wanted to have more impact. I wanted to build a program, So I was going through this thing in my head, and this was, the 1997 kind of ish. And I got a call from Johns Hopkins saying, hey, we're looking for a department chair. This is going to tell you how I got to HCI. It's kind of funny, sort of tortuous route. But and they're like, we're looking for a department chair, anatomy and cell biology. Will you look at the job? I had a 3-year-old at the time. My husband had his own business. So we were kind of portable. I wasn't looking for a job.
Yeah.
But I thought, they said, it was exactly what I was thinking. We want you to build this massive program and hire all these people and, bring all these people together to do really high impact work, et cetera, et cetera. So I started looking at that opportunity. And actually, somebody you probably know, Bert Vogelstein, was on the search committee.
Yeah.
And he, after they offered me the position, he called Ray White, who was his friend, another colon cancer geneticist and researcher, and said, hey, we're trying to hire this person. Do you know her? Because I was in the biology department, right? I wasn't up at the medical school. And he goes, yeah, I know her. And they chat a little bit. And then they get off the phone. He picks up the phone and calls me and says, what are you doing? Thinking about going, what are you thinking about going? Come up and talk to us. Did you know we're building Huntsman Cancer Institute? I said, I had no idea, right? I could see I see some cranes up on the hill, but I didn't really know what was going on. So he called me and brought me up there and said, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I just want to I want to have more of an impact. I want to be able to build something programmatic that's going to really make a difference. Yep. And he goes, well, why don't you do it here? And so fast forward, I ended up, moving just from my biology lab to a lab in the Huntsman Cancer Institute, which was just being built. And that's how I wound up there. And then, how I got from there, I became a program leader, and then I became the deputy director. And then, when Steve Prescott stepped down in 2005, there was a search, and I actually didn't apply for the job, but I got a call from Loris Betts saying, I remember very well, it was on July 4th. He goes, I'm going to turn your world upside down. He goes, can you come over to my house? And he said, we want to offer you the opportunity to be the leader at HCI. And I was like, wow, I hadn't really been thinking about that, but I had in my head, I knew what needed to be done. Yep. And I was so in love with the organization and the people who were there and the purpose that was there and the drive and the culture that I'm like, if I can be of service, I will do it.
Yep.
And that was it.
That was it, huh?
So it wasn't like, like all my life I've, been on this pathway or anything like that. It's just kind of really organic.
Yeah. Just happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. So for people listening to this or watching this that don't know what Huntsman Cancer Institute is and what a cancer institute is, let's talk a little bit about what it is. So the Huntsman Cancer Institute is one of not a lot of what's called a comprehensive cancer center, and that's a designation that comes from the National Institutes of Health has the National Cancer Institute, and they are responsible for a lot of the direction and funding and setting the tone for cancer research in the country. And so it's a designation that comes from them. But tell us, what does it mean? What is having a comprehensive cancer center? Why is that a big deal? And what is the Huntsman Cancer Institute with that designation? What does it do for the people here?
Yeah.
BioHive is a nonprofit building the future of healthcare innovation right here in Utah. As one of the nation's fastest growing life science industries, they bring together scientists, entrepreneurs, students, and companies to create breakthroughs that save lives and strengthen our economy. Whether you're in a lab or at a startup, BioHive is here to build, brand, and bring together a thriving life science community, and there's a place for you. Learn more, get involved, and see their latest happenings at biohive.com.
So being a National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center is, as you point out, a really big deal. It is the highest recognition that the National Cancer Institute and the National Institutes of Health confers to a cancer institute in our country. There are only around 50 or so comprehensive cancer centers that are so designated in the United States. And I will just say that in our last review, we got an exceptional.
That's incredible.
Which I was that was under Neely Ulrich's leadership. Yeah. And I was like, yes.
Incredible.
Awesome. Yeah. But the comprehensiveness means that we are a center that provides both clinical care for cancer patients. We have extensive full dynamic range cancer research programs that are deemed to be high impact by the reviewers at the National Cancer Institute. And also that we have education and training programs for the next generation of cancer researchers and clinical care providers, and that we engage with our community to provide education about cancer risk prevention and care and survivorship. And so, in an interesting way, when John Huntsman founded Huntsman Cancer Institute, the mission statement for Huntsman Cancer Institute really describes a comprehensive cancer center that had all those four components: clinical care, research and science, teaching the next generation, and engaging the community. So, that's what we do. And I think part of the really powerful sort of thrust of being a comprehensive cancer center is that we have scientists that are focused on really understanding cancer biology in mechanistic detail, understanding what that means in terms of a patient's experience, and taking that knowledge and translating it, as you said, to clinical application, or translating it to the community in the prevention space. And, the NCI designation is incredibly powerful. It puts us in a community of exceptional cancer-focused institutions across the country. We have a lot of collaborations with those other institutions. We conduct clinical trials in coordination with those other institutions. We share knowledge, we share ideas. And what does it mean for the community? I think it means if you're a patient, it means you are being cared for in a center that is linked to the leading edge thinking and discoveries related to your disease. So in addition to what we provide at Huntsman Cancer Institute with a lot of intentionality, which is compassionate care, comprehensive care, leading edge care from a technology perspective, an environment that really embraces the whole patient, in a really meaningful way. If you're a patient at Huntsman Cancer Institute, you see people in white coats walking around and you know that they are working tirelessly to address exactly what you need, which is a better outcome for your cancer. And for our scientists, they see the patients and the family members in the bistro, in the point, in the elevators, in the lobbies, and there is nothing like seeing a cancer patient in your building that accelerates your energy and makes you realize the urgency and importance of what you're doing.
No, I think that's exactly right. And that was my experience as well, that it's a remarkable thing to be working in the lab, but on my way to that lab, I walk through a clinic or the waiting room for a clinic that where people that have the disease that I'm studying up there, they're dealing with. And it's not an abstract thing, it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
And that in the same building. And that's that's pretty remarkable. And so I think, it's been one of the one of the real amazing things we've done as a scientific community to build these these centers that have become a focus for all of these things that you talked about. That it's not just you can get good care a lot of places, and it's so if you're a cancer patient, if you've been diagnosed with cancer, you can get treatment in your community. You can, but knowing that there's a resource that's here that is, may have things available, will have things available to them because of the resources and the support and everything that comes from being a comprehensive cancer center. What that provides, not just to the patients, but the other doctors in the community, knowing that, hey, if I run out of options here, there's more options up here as well. And I think that's the way that I think about it. Is it from a patient's perspective, is it provides a place to go in a place of hope, right? To say, this works for some people, and we're going to try it first. And unfortunately, that's kind of how we have to do care. Is you get diagnosed with a specific disease. Your disease isn't everyone's disease is a little different, right?
Yeah.
And we've learned that. That's one of the big things, and we'll talk about in a minute, the things that we've learned. But everyone's cancer, we try to say, you have breast cancer, you have prostate cancer, well, prostate cancer is probably, thousands of different kinds of cancer, right? I mean, and so we try to treat them in as personalized way as we can, but we have to go through this, this sequence of ways that we provide care. And at some point in time, the standard stuff, that's the tried and true stuff that works for some people or the majority of people, we run out of options. This is where these comprehensive cancer centers really shine for the patients. Is they provide more options and more hope to say, hey, we're not out of you're not out of ammunition here against this disease. There's more here. And so for us having this place here in our state, our community, is I don't think people appreciate how special it is and how wonderful it is. And it's been, I think it's just made an amazing impact for the community. And just in the 20 years that you've been at the helm of this, watching physically how much it's changed. I mean, the Huntsman Cancer Institute, when you started, was a single building, and then a hospital got attached to it, and then another research building, and it's still not stopped, right? We've kind of run out of real estate a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but there's not a whole lot more to go physically, but just how just taking a step back. I mean, you've been at the helm for 20 years, which I just can't even imagine. It's what an amazing thing for you. I've been CEOs of companies and never for anywhere close to 20 years. I don't think I could do it, but watching what you've done up there and just kind of those changes that have happened, reflect a little bit on what are some things that you've seen in the 20 years you've been involved at the Huntsman, how things have changed for cancer, for patients, for research. Like what are some things that stand out to you in the last 20 years?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, there are so many things, but you alluded to one of them, which is we know that cancer is not a single disease, right? And let me put a marker on that, because I think that's a really important one. When we were talking about the National Cancer Program, that got initiated in 1971 when Richard Nixon started the war on cancer.
That's right. Yeah.
And established those cancer centers and the National Cancer Institute. At that time, we thought cancer was a single disease.
Yep.
And everyone was like, we need some kind of vaccine or something like we had for polio.
Yep.
And we're going to eradicate this disease. And over time, through work of a lot of places, but I have to say, since I'm talking to you here in Utah,
absolutely,
in a very distinguished way, right here in Utah, at Huntsman Cancer Institute and with investigators at the University of Utah, we discovered by studying families in Utah that people who had colorectal cancer susceptibility, or families that had breast cancer susceptibility, had different genetic changes that were giving rise to that elevated cancer risk. And that was really the beginning of appreciating that breast cancer is different than, colon cancer is different than prostate cancer, brain cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we've gone on from there, from the time where I think, in Utah, we've discovered more inherited cancer risk genes than any other institution in the world, to now mine even more deeply and appreciate that not all breast cancers are the same and not all prostate cancers are the same. So this this has been really critical for what I would call a complete revolution in how we think about treating cancers. Because it's also was kind of scary as a scientist, right? To because you started from thinking you're trying to understand one thing, and now we know it's like hundreds of. We now almost use the word cancers instead of cancer.
That's right. Yeah.
If we're really trying to be precise about it, more than 200 different diseases, and you can't use a one-size-fits-all approach when there are that many different causations, and so. That was daunting, but on the same time, it was the empowerment that has really led to this revolution in precision medicine or personalized medicine, as we call it. It is those targeted treatments. I mean, you've been involved in discovery of some of those. Those targeted treatments that allow us to give the right drug to the right patient at the right time. In a way that is less harmful to the normal tissue in the surrounding areas. Wow. Huge, huge impact. We have seen this 30% reduction in cancer mortality in the last 30-ish years. A big part of that is because of this revolutionary change in how we think about cancer and the advent of targeted therapy and personalized medicine. Another big component of that reduction is, of course, better screening and early detection. And also reduction in smoking, which we know is, responsible for causing a number of different cancers. But nevertheless, all those things together, that's a pretty remarkable record of accomplishment. But we're not done yet, and we have so much more work to do.
Still a long ways to go, but it is, it can feel frustrating, that we're not making progress. And you and I both said that we're never satisfied, and so we're anxious people that want to see things move faster.
I'm gonna just lie down on this couch now and just get my therapy moment.
That psychology degree, or
you can lie down. I'll help you.
You'll help me. But, I need a lot of help, but. Just to see I mean, it is good, I think, sometimes to take a step back and say, in the last 20, 25, 30 years, I mean, 30 years ago, if you had metastatic cancer, you were most certainly going to die of that disease, almost certainly going to die of it. And today, we've made like you said, 30% decrease in mortality. Yeah. So people that are diagnosed, it's not a death sentence. And for a lot of cancers, we can have people live very long lives. Now, not enough for sure, and that's what motivates us. Is that we want to take the ones that we've actually made a huge impact. I mean, there are leukemias that 30 years ago were death sentences that today you can live a full, healthy life and not even know you have. I mean, leukemia is essentially cured. And we want to see that happen for all of them, right? And that's really what continues to drive us. But I think it's the foundations of every institute kind of has its own personality, and like you said, Ray White kind of set that off to say, he is, you look back and the foundational work that he did on cancer genetics to say, this is what causes, this, colon cancer and breast cancer, and these types of cancers are genetically different, and what sets people off and has this potential risk for developing this cancer is different with these different kinds of cancers. And that, I think that culture was established, and that gene discovery, the genetic discovery, still is part of the DNA of the Huntsman Cancer Institute. And I think that's what makes that place special, and why we've been able to do the things that we've been able to do there. So, like we said, I think that we look back the last 20 years and say we've come a long ways, and provided a physical location where people can come and get differentiated in special types of therapies. And that's exciting, but you and I both have the personality that says, well, it's not good enough, right? I mean, that there's still progress that needs to be made, and so there's lots of stuff scientifically that we could talk about for hours and hours that we're trying to do. But one of the reasons why I was excited to have you here is you and I are working in partnership on a new initiative to try to take everything that's special about what we've built over the last 30 years of being involved at the Huntsman Cancer Institute, and expand that to give more people access. Because to me, it's one of the things that is the most frustrating thing is that we have solutions, we have treatments and potentially cures that are available, but they're limited by access, and that is frustrating because that is a solvable problem, right? And that's just giving people access. And so I want to talk about the new initiative, and this is what I'm excited about, and I'm spending more and more of my time thinking about and working on how we can expand what's happening. And so just recently we've announced that the Huntsman Cancer Institute is going to open a new physical campus. So in Utah, we have 2 population centers that have almost the whole state, a lot of the state, up in Salt Lake, which is where the Huntsman Cancer Institute has been, and then down in Utah County, which is not that far, physically not that far, but just for a lot of reasons, seems farther away than it really is. But it does take a toll on people to drive, even if it's 30, 40 miles. That's a long ways to drive back and forth to get care. Yeah. And so we've announced that we'll be breaking ground very soon on a new campus in a place called the Vineyard, which is down kind of in the Orem area right next to Utah Lake. It's a beautiful location, and we're so excited about what we're going to build there. And what I'm excited about is that everything that we've done and built up in Salt Lake, we're going to take that, but we're also going to create its own entity there as well, and love to have a little bit of discussion about what we're building there. So I'll set that up and have you tell us what the Vineyard Campus is going to be about and what it's going to do for people here and what we're going to use that to expand. Because for me, the future is not just coming up with treatments, but how do we keep people from getting these diseases? Yeah. And I think that's always been the holy grail. It's always been the thing that, the guy that trained me, a very famous cancer researcher, he said the best treatment for cancer is never getting cancer, right?
Yeah.
And it's true, right?
Wise man.
Yeah, we the best way that we can treat cancer is to prevent it. And it's been hard, it's been difficult to do, but we have tools available to us now. And with AI and some of these new advances, we think that we can build something really special there. So tell us what we're doing at the Vineyard and why you and I are so excited about it. So. What if you could get rewarded just for being healthier? Meet Galvin, the company using the latest blockchain technology to reward you for taking care of yourself. They help with your mind, body, and soul like a personalized health assistant to track your progress and help you feel better. Galvin's G+ app rewards you for exercise and assesses your mental health in under a minute using AI and over 2,500 voice biomarkers. If you're feeling off, G+ gives you personalized power-ups, science-backed techniques to help you feel better fast. And here's the best part. When you prioritize your wellness, you earn crypto. Ready to level up your health? Use promo code GOODMED20 at checkout for 20% off. Download G+ today at the Apple App or Google Play Store and start your wellness journey with Galvin.
Thank you for bringing this up because I am just as excited as you are. And I just am so thrilled with the partnership that, we have on this really life-saving project. I'm going to just back up for 1 second because I want to emphasize what you said. The thing that keeps me up at night, really, is knowing that not everyone can get access to the incredible opportunities that cancer science now has made available for cancer patients.
Yep.
And, when I do rounds in our hospital, I have so many patients tell me, wow, I'm so glad I'm here, but, I had no hope.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't come here because it was such a long ways away from my home. Yep. But somebody in my neighborhood said, you've got to go. And some people actually heed that advice, but many, many others don't because it is just too hard.
Yep.
It's too hard. And we at Huntsman Cancer Institute today, last year had almost 50,000 round trips from patients from Utah County and the adjacent southern counties traveling up to Salt Lake for specialist visits. That's over 3.5 million miles traveled.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It is a lot. And if you're coming, repeatedly for infusion therapy or for radiation therapy, and you're feeling miserable, and somebody in your family has to go off work and drive you, I mean, this basically makes it almost impossible to be able to take advantage of what is available.
Yep.
So we have this vision. We call it delivering a cancer-free frontier, but part of that is about bringing cancer care closer to where people live, right? And so that's the beginning of thinking about the Vineyard Campus. Now, we don't want this campus to be like a little baby sibling of, the mothership campus in Salt Lake. It is the beginning of a mature partner campus.
Yeah.
That'll be like 2 adults over time.
Yeah.
And it's going to bring both clinical care to meet the needs of patients, but importantly also incredible collaborations with local institutions like BYU and UVU to give those students more direct experiential learning in the cancer research and clinical care delivery space, which we're really excited about because so much talent there and so much need. And wow, if we can hook some of these really smart kids like we got hooked early on, that would be really wonderful. So it also leverages, some of the expertise we have to extend our impact in the community there. And then we'll have, a hub for community engagement around education about cancer prevention and screening and care. And importantly, we're going to also establish a new research center there. This is the key thing, this integration of research and clinical care, which amplifies to make a difference for cancer patients. And what we've been planning, as you know, is really exciting because there are so many incredible opportunities right now. And we decided to focus on some really developing and new programs there to complement what we have on our current Salt Lake campus. So we will have 3 main research areas. One is focused on clinical trials, right? And making sure that people in the southern part of our state and beyond have the same access to the leading edge clinical trials, including some of our investigator-initiated clinical trials at Huntsman Cancer Institute. But the other 2 areas, one is related to this focus on prevention that you talked about. We really believe that there's a huge opportunity to inform people about how to get cancer screening more effectively and to actually improve on cancer screening and early diagnosis and detection. And so that's one, major focus area. And I think that will involve a big focus on AI and machine learning, where the landscape is changing so rapidly
daily.
And so dramatically,
it's incredible.
Literally daily.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And I mean, I look at the potential of AI and machine learning in health, and I'm just blown away. And I'm so optimistic about the future. We're already starting to do some things like that, but we're going to create a real center in the Vineyard Campus to focus on this, which is cool because it's right near Silicon Slopes where there's a lot of health tech, et cetera. There are things like using AI and machine learning to amplify the impact of the electronic health record and patient communication. There are really interesting things on cancer imaging and using AI and machine learning to extract more information out of biopsy sample images that we have to really give us predictive information based on a really early biopsy image of a patient's tumor. What is the right treatment for that patient? That's already starting to happen, and it's incredible. And when you think about how that kind of thing could democratize access to the best advice for a cancer patient in terms of what treatment will be most beneficial, it's incredibly powerful. And just on a side note, with the BYU
Medical
School of Medicine
Yeah.
starting out, and with their focus on global health, I think this ties in really, really nicely because, what they are wanting to be doing is being real leaders in how to deliver healthcare to remote areas around the world and to have an impact beyond, the reach of our state and our nation, right? And so these kinds of tools, I think, are going to be enabling, and we're really excited. We're already collaborating with them a lot, and we're really excited about doing more in this space because we have this shared vision. And then, I mentioned before the Utah Population Database, and this is something that, you've really been championing as well. But the Utah Population Database has been so powerful as a tool with the analytic tools that we had historically to be able to identify cancer risk susceptibility genes. But truly, we were only able to identify the ones that were we call it highly penetrant, right? Single genes that really made a big difference that you could see quantitatively with tools that were available back in the day. Now we have so much more robust quantitative technology available to us and computational power available to us. I think we're going to be able to go back to that database with a lot of the omics information linked to it and be able to find much more complex examples of multimodal inheritance, multi-gene inheritance, gene-environment interactions, et cetera, which will be just as powerful as the single gene things that we've done, and actually probably more so. And then, I think also you and I have had the conversation about what about these high penetrance genes? Even for those high penetrance genes, we don't see every single person that has a BRCA1 mutation getting breast cancer. So what is it that is protecting, let's say, 35% of the women from getting breast cancer?
And fascinating, we don't have a clue.
We don't have a clue.
We don't know.
So, so to me, like when I think about, it's just like we know so much about the fundamental biology. It's just a perfect moment, right? Where we know so much about the fundamental biology, the pathways, the mechanisms. And now we have this technology. And the blind spots that we have, the technology is going to allow us to shine a light on those.
Absolutely.
And to your point about, prevention, imagine if we could find resilience genes.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that would be incredible. Right? So all of these elements, this is why I'm so excited about AI and machine learning in that domain. The third is really around healthcare delivery innovation. This issue of, look, people don't always live right next to a major medical center, but they ought to have access to this incredibly robust and informed knowledge base about how to prevent and treat cancer. They deserve that, and we must find a way to get that to them. So there's also a huge revolution in wearables now and use of technology to deliver care at a distance. So we really feel like we here in Utah, we're surrounded by rural and frontier communities. Our state is 90% rural, less than 100 people per square mile. We are officially the cancer center that serves the 5-state Mountain West, which has large rural geographies. We know that patients who live in rural and frontier zip codes have worse outcomes. They have a 10% higher chance of dying from their cancer. That is simply not acceptable.
It's not acceptable,
And it is really about distance as a disparity, as we call it. And we are going to use science and technology and innovation to address that and be a leader in how to deliver the best in cancer care over a distance.
And we're going to do it.
We are going to do it.
And that's what's exciting about this is that we have the momentum. We've got the vision. We have the land. We're gonna make this thing happen. And I think what's exciting for me and really just kind of a call to action for people that are interested in being partners with us. We obviously funding makes this stuff move forward, and we're always looking for new partners to work with to help us achieve this vision. So I hope that you get a sense. I mean, cancer impacts all of us. I don't think there's a single person I've met that doesn't have a family member or somebody that's close to them, a friend that's been impacted by cancer. And I've shared my own personal experience, and it motivates me more than anything, thinking about my family history of cancer and thinking that there are things that we can do today that will make a difference for our children and grandchildren, and that's what I'm excited about. What the Huntsman Cancer Institute has done and what we can do. And that's what excites me about this Vineyard Campus is we're leveraging all these years of all this good stuff, but we also kind of have a little bit of a clean slate to say we can build this to be what we want it to be. Yep. And I think the vision that you just outlined is exactly what we need to do. And so I would say that anyone that wants to be part of this,
join us.
Join us. That's right, exactly. And we'll put a link and we're being serious that we're looking for people to come help us achieve this vision, because it's doable and it's not fiction. It's not the future. It's something that we can do today, and we have the resources. We've got the scientific knowledge. We've got the environment to be able to make this impact. And I think we can build something special. And so if you're looking for a good cause to be involved with, I can't think of a better one. I think that this, the impact that we can have on not just our community, but the world, because the things that we discover here in today's world, medical advances get communicated almost instantaneously. Like we know about it. It used to be it'd take a while. When we were starting our career, we'd wait for the journals to come out.
Xerox something.
Xerox something. I mean, it took us a while to get that information. Today, it's just instantaneously.
Yeah.
That when we make a discovery, we know about it, and it goes through the whole world. And the world's got a lot smaller. And to think that the things that we do here can not just impact, it's important to impact our own community, our own family, but the impact that we could have on the whole world. I mean, we have a chance to make real difference for everybody in the world. So I can't think of a better thing that we can be involved with. And Mary and I have spent a lot of time in our careers just thinking about ways that we can make a difference. And I think we're both at our age and our personality is we can't wait to it's now, right?
Now.
if we're going to do this, we got tempo. That's right. We got to keep this going. So we'll put links in after this recording that you can click on if you want to be a partner with us. If you just want to say where they could go, the website that they could go to if they want to be part of the Huntsman Foundation and contribute. We'll make sure you have access to all of that. But we would love, if you found this vision and this discussion that we've had interesting and you want to be part of it, we'll anyone who wants to be part of this, we want to build this in a way that really has as much impact for as many people as we can.
Dave, let me just say, one of the most exciting things for me is working with you on this really transformational project. And, I'm so grateful to you for, your energy, your engagement, your generous support of the project, and for the partnership that we're going to have to really bring this to life. I feel like this is a once in a generational opportunity, and I feel like Utah is so the place for it.
It is, yeah.
We have, I'm from New Jersey originally, but now I'm a Utahn. And one of the things I have always been inspired by in Utah is the sense of space and the sense of potentiality. And of course, we have a pioneer spirit here in our state,
That's
right? And we're resilient, and we're willing to go into places where others haven't gone, and we also are incredibly collaborative. Yep. So I just feel like these pieces connected with the sort of macro landscape of knowledge and technology and need position us to do something that is going to be unparalleled. And I'm so grateful to you for being side by side with us as always, and to Tanya and your family. And we will put some information about the website, but you can go to the Huntsman Cancer Institute website and find out how to donate, or you could go to huntsmancancerfoundation.org. And that will take you directly to the Huntsman Cancer Foundation, which is a dedicated 501(c) organization that supports Huntsman Cancer Institute's ambitious vision.
Well, I just think that I agree completely that we are at a point in time, a moment in time, that we can make a difference, and someone's going to do it, and it might as well be us, right?
It better be us.
It better be us.
Yeah.
It might as well be us. So if you want to join with us and be part of this vision, we'd love to have you as a partner. And like I said, there's nobody more dedicated and more driven that I've met than Mary, and to still have Mary, even though officially she won't be the CEO of the Huntsman Cancer Institute, this Vineyard Campus is going to be a lot of her time and focus, and my time and focus going to be spent on helping to build this. So thank you so much for spending the time and telling us about your past and your history, and hopefully this inspires people to get involved and to be part of something that we think can change the world. And that's all we're trying to do, is change the world.
That's all.
That's all.
We can do it.
We can do it. Absolutely.
Onward, and thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's it for today's episode of Good Medicine. Thanks for joining us as we explore the science and stories behind health, medicine, and innovation. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's a great zero-cost way to support us. In addition, please click, follow, and leave a review for the podcast on Apple and Spotify. If you have questions or comments for me, please put them in the comments section on YouTube, or reach out on all social media platforms at Good Medicine. Links are in the description. The best way to support the podcast is to check out the sponsors of the show. You can do this by looking at the links in the show notes. That's it for today. I'm Dr. David Beers, and we'll see you next time.